I'm recording this after my weekly Friday massage, but also around the time of Mother's Day and the death of my mom. And it's reminding me of the conversation, how I first started off with Court on the podcast, where we talked about our journey with sexuality. And for him, it started with his mom, and for me, it started with my mom. And you'll hear a funny story from both of us, mostly about the openness of our moms to sexuality, to curiosity, and really what a wonderful beginning to life to be able to not be shamed and see our bodies as beautiful and as sacred, and our sexual expression as natural and normal and healthy. And as I send you into this podcast, there were some really honest, raw moments. My sense is that most people interviewing him don't have sensitivity, or are a little crass in their curiosity, and are not acknowledging of the depth and the heart, and the professionalism and the clear integrity and boundaries that he has. And so it was really wonderful, I hope anyways, to be someone who could restore some of that honor, respect, and care for what it is he chooses to be and do and give and receive. I think you'll feel throughout the podcast, not that he had any walls up, but just a softening, an opening, a connecting even deeper. And that makes me feel good. Not only do I love to interview people, I'm an intimacy expert. I love to be intimate, raw, real, transparent, acknowledging of them, and very open with what arises in me talking to them. And there were some tears in this one for me. And his reframe really healed my heart. So enjoy. Welcome to Intimate Conversations, Soul Medicine. Intimacy is an inside job. Hello, you delicious people. Welcome to another episode of Intimate Conversations. Here we are in season 11, Soul Medicine. And today we're talking about anxiety and how fear paralyzes intimacy, with an amazing man who's going to have so much to share with us. Your name, is your name real? Court Vox? Like, that's just the sexiest name on the planet. Is it really your name?
Thank you. So my first name, Court, is actually my given name, and Vox is my chosen name.
Chosen name. Okay. Well,
yeah. It's a little bit of both.
Okay, because I added an extra L with Allana, because like all is one. We are all is well, whatever. Yeah. So same. So Court is a certified sex and intimacy coach, surrogate partner, intern, and sacred intimate, based in Los Angeles. So we had some chats because I used to live in LA. He is a member of the World Association of Sex Coaches, founder of The Body, Vox, and co-founder of Squirm. I want to know what that is. He is a guide for a vast spectrum of individuals and those in relationships seeking more in their erotic and intimate lives. And when it comes to human connection and sexuality, some are beginning their journey, while others have been pursuing erotic education and experiences for years. Court works gently with first-timers, as well as offers uncommon experiences to some of the world's most well-known sex educators and change makers across multiple fields and disciplines. Court has become known for offering private, highly customized, exclusive experiences, and travels extensively, hosting and teaching workshops for all bodies, genders, and orientations. Court is also part of an elite team of sex educators that create the celebrated program for women, Back to the Body, which runs retreats all over the globe. And he has many intimacy online courses that we're going to learn about today. And you can also find him at thebodyvox.com. So welcome, great man. How just like today, how's LA today?
It's beautiful today. I just got home from having lunch with a friend that I've known for 20 years, and we haven't connected in a while. So it was beautiful to see her and hear about her life, and just be in her presence after being away for so long.
Yeah, that's lovely. Deeply connecting is so good. I deeply
Yeah.
connected today. I do IG lives as well as this podcast. And I met
Mhm.
a woman who like I instantly connected with, and we were laughing and crying. And it's just amazing to connect intimately, isn't it?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would like to begin not with defining. I have a lot of questions about defining what it is you do, but first is like your journey with your own sexuality, growing up. Like, are you from LA
Mhm.
originally? And how did you come into this line of work? I'm so curious.
So, I grew up in Las Vegas. I was born and raised there.
Uh-huh.
My mother birthed me in the bathroom of the suite of the Caesar's Palace. That's a total joke, but but people are always like, "Really? Wow." No, my mother was and is very curious. She's a very curious person. I tease her. She's so vanilla in her sexuality and sex, but she's so curious about other people's kinks and kind of turn-ons that are not so vanilla. She's the person that people just kind of like spill all of their life story to.
Uh-huh.
So I feel very fortunate to have a mother who is, very supportive of teaching us about our bodies, about autonomy, also about our parts, and being really accepting and supportive of masturbation in our house. Yeah, so that was my early kind of development around sexuality. And then, when I sort of started to realize that I was a gay boy,
Mhm.
I was probably 6 or 7, and started to kind of lean inward, feeling like I wasn't safe enough to be out in the world, and not really putting together that I was necessarily gay, but definitely noticing that I was different,
Yeah.
and trying to find ways to be quiet about it. Probably till I was like 19. I think what's interesting and kind of funny is that everybody else knew, and I was trying to be on the QT, right? I was trying to be quiet about it, and everybody else was like, yeah, we knew, like, it's time.
Oh,
Um,
sweet.
but when I came out in college, I sort of had a sexual awakening. And then I had another one in my 30s, and I had 3 pretty big relationships, long-term relationships, back to back.
Yeah.
And after the third one in my 30s, I was kind of like, I'm really ready to be single and to explore and express and learn about my body and sexuality a little bit more. And my
God.
30s were a decade of reclamation.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then I was studying shibari rope bondage, and kind of when I was like 37, and was practicing with a woman who was a psychotherapist. And at the time, I was working at Maker Studios, which was acquired by Disney. So I was
Yeah,
working for
I
Disney for a
remember.
little bit.
Hmm.
And I said, I really got to get out of what I'm doing. And she said, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to be a sex therapist, but not one that talks to people, one that like facilitates through the body and through experiences and body-based things. And I said, I don't think that exists. And she said, have you heard of sexological bodywork? And I said, nope. And I immediately went and looked it up. And then I think within 2 weeks, I had signed up for that training, spent the next 2 years doing that. And then in that time also became a surrogate partner intern, took that training. And then almost like immediately, I was working for an e-commerce company. It was a Chinese e-commerce company, and it wasn't going really well.
Yeah.
And but it was supporting me studying. And I decided that I was going to stop that.
Yeah.
And was really clear that I was going to do whatever it took, and I was going to be poor if I needed to be poor. And as soon as I made that decision, I got a call from Pamela Madsen to come join the Back to the Body team. And the rest is history. My career trajectory has been pretty incredible since then. I've been very fortunate.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you for your bravery.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a little bit like jumping off the mountain and being like, catch me, wind.
Right? I bet. No,
Yeah.
seriously, in a world that is highly judgmental. So congratulations. And your soul chose well with your mama. so that you could be raised with such love to explore who you are and come out. My mom's been gone 21 years. And I remember when I used to live in Japan. I was a topless dancer in Japan. And first time I came home, I said, Mom, I met this guy and I want to be monogamous. And so I need to buy a vibrator. And it was before like the internet. I'm in my 50s. And so we looked in the yellow pages. She goes, V? And we looked, nothing, sex, nothing, love. So we found the love shop and we went down and it was on Davie Street in Vancouver. And we each got ourselves a vibrator and we came home, and the lady was so lovely. She shut the whole store down, kicked everyone out of the back magazine section, and she put them all out for us and put on a spot of tea. We all sat down, and I remember we had dinner at like 4:30 that night. So we were in bed by like 5. And we're like,
You're like, good night. Let me know how it goes tomorrow.
Right. And when she passed, my sister and I were like, okay, who's going to go into the drawers beside the bed? We're like, okay, here we go. And it was like, yeah. We had a good time. So similar but different, which I think really supports me in the work that I do around intimacy. And while it is not specifically around sex, it includes that heart open bravery to be unapologetic with who we are. So I really love that. We talked earlier before we pressed record that a dear friend, Rahi Chun, who does sexual somatic work. Do you know Jaya? She's also a dear friend.
I've never met Jaya. Obviously, I know of Jaya. She's one of the leaders in our field, and I really respect the work that she does too. Yeah. So I adore her. And I went through a very long custody battle, and she was just a very dear friend. We were at S Factor dancing together for years and years. So my question is, let's explain to the audience, what is a sexual surrogate? What does that mean? What does it look like? Why did you choose it? Why is it rewarding? What are the breakthroughs that happen for people? So I guess let's start by the client is usually a little bit different in surrogacy. The client is usually a high percentage of the clients are latent virgins. So they are 25, 30, 40, 50, 60, sometimes older, and they have never had a sexual, erotic, or relational experience. And so the idea behind surrogacy, it comes from Masters and Johnson's work, is that as a surrogate, you're sort of stepping in as a surrogate relationship for them. And it has a full arc of, meeting, kind of courting, falling in love, and then breaking up in the end. And at the end, you say goodbye and you do not see each other again. And I was just telling my parents, my dad and my stepmom this, and they were like, that's terrible. These poor people. And I was like, yes, but that's sort of what you have experienced before you met Dad, and what he experienced before he met you. And it's sort of like, for us to know grief and pain, there has had to be some sort of love involved and joy, right? And so they kind of go hand in hand. And so it's following the trajectory of this relationship and knowing that there is a beginning, middle, and end. And the other difference is that I would work with a licensed therapist in a triadic model, which I do a lot anyway. I have a lot of peer support. And when I work with women and also in Back to the Body, we work in triadic model where I would work with a client in more experiential learning, and then it's supported by a team or a staff. And in surrogacy, supported by a talk therapist who facilitates the learning from a therapy perspective.
Got it.
Yeah.
And just to be clear, a couple questions. How long is the arc? How long is that period of time?
It's indefinite. So it depends on the person. So it could last 3 months. It could last 2 years. I don't do a lot of surrogacy work. I usually work in immersion with people, and many clients would like to come and do like an hour and a half once a week, and I'm not available for that. I actually believe in immersion as a way of facilitating growth in a way that doesn't happen when you're just coming for an hour and a half a week. When you're coming for a whole day, for 3 days, or you're on retreat and you're working 5 sessions a day, plus the support of a staff, and receiving like the opportunity to expand and contract within the container, and to be held in that. Like, there's really huge shifts that happen for people in immersion. And that's why I do that actually exclusively.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, I don't do like 1.5 hour sessions. My shortest session is 3 hours, and that's only for people that have worked with me previously.
Yeah. I respect that, Court. If somebody coaches with me, it's a year. That's how we do it. And with my VIP clients, I'll do 6 months, but that's when we're going to be actually in person doing VIP 3 days at a time as well, because the container to me is everything. Is strong and clear, is as deep as we can go. So I really, really respect that. Who chooses whether it's 3 months or 2 years? Is that you or the client?
So in surrogacy, it's actually a team effort between the client, myself, and the therapist. And so, the therapist is kind of like, I don't feel like he's really or she's really ready to move on from this. Or, I get that you guys are really close and it feels like this is the time to separate. And then I might say, I don't know, this doesn't feel right now. So it's a discussion. It's a collaborative effort. And at some point, it does have to come to a close.
Yeah.
And sometimes the client is like, I feel ready. I feel ready. I feel ready to go off on my own and do my own thing and have my own relationship. And, and that's a beautiful thing too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How, Court, is your heart throughout all of this? What happens to you?
That I think you're asking it in a different question than most people in a different way than most people ask, which is, how do you take care of yourself?
Yeah.
I asked this question to 3 of my mentors, and one of them said, I imagine the energy comes up over my head and around me and passes me by. And the second one said, I put my hands to the ground and I ground with Mother Earth.
Yes.
And the third one to my question, which was, how do you not allow people's energy to enter you and affect you?
Yeah.
And the third one said, you don't. And that was the most honest answer I got, and probably, how I would respond, which is, of course, people's energies and of course, people's health and wellness affects me. I'm there with them, really in deep places.
Yes.
And how I take care of myself is the same way that I teach people to take care of themselves, which is through my breath and sound, and through dancing and movement, and through my own erotic expression, making sure that I have lovers of my own, and being with my partner and having sexual experiences with him. Those are really important, right? And I think what people don't realize is that the work for me is generative. Otherwise, I think if it's not generative to you, you probably shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you look at it more of like as a feedback loop or a pleasure loop, if you can allow yourself to be a part of that, instead of framing it as like, oh, I'm taking on all these people's negative energy. It's like, no, actually, if you could look at this as this person is opening in such a beautiful way and allowing me to penetrate areas of their psyche and spirit and body that may have never been touched before. And then what they're giving back to me. And it's generative. And so that's how I frame it and I think about it. And still, there are days that are really challenging of feeling something from someone and hearing about, a sexual trauma that someone's experienced and just being like deeply moved by it. And I have to cry sometimes, and I have to shake, and I have to go, exercise and lift weights. And, so much of our culture has said, sit still, be quiet, stop moving, sit in this little chair. Right. And so as I'm teaching people to reconnect with their bodies. A lot of it is like, can you play with your whisper? And can you elevate your voice to resound in this big way?
Yeah.
And it's so challenging for people
Yeah.
to be loud because they've been told to be small for so long. And even with their body expression, men especially, they're just like in these very contained boxes of bodies. And, to ask a man to move and dance is maybe one of the most vulnerable things you can ask him to do in front of someone, right? It's like, and you can tell a lot by looking at somebody's body when you ask them to move to music and they just can't connect to the rhythm, can't connect to the ground, can't connect to the surroundings, their own body. And it's like, here's the work. It's right here.
Yeah.
Right in front of us.
Yeah.
It's here.
Yeah. Oh, Court, this is beautiful. On my group coaching calls, which are men and women, couples and singles, the first part of it, most of the time, sometimes I do meditation if I don't feel like it, but most of the time I get your ass up, 2 minutes, people. And I'm a dork. I do the thing to do that because it's like their arms are glued to the side of their body. And they're like, and I'm like, nah, move your arms. They're like, right? Because that's like, oh, I'm going to be exposed. And I'm so grateful that I've been a dancer since I was 5. I'm so grateful. Oh, my 47th birthday, I danced at Cheetahs on amateur night.
All right.
That was fun. So another thing about the beautiful, you let yourself be affected. You let yourself be.
Yeah, I mean, there are pros and cons to being open.
Yeah.
But the biggest piece about being open is that you feel, period. You don't get to choose what you feel.
Yep.
But if you want to experience intense and immense pleasure and joy, you're also opening yourself to experience grief and sadness in a really intense way. And so just knowing that that's going to happen as you open, and to actually not put a value judgment on it, right? We tend to value, joy and happiness as a good thing and grief and sadness as a bad thing. And it's like, usually they're intertwined.
Exactly.
They're like, you can't feel grief if you didn't love something.
Correct.
And so just to notice that these feelings are not binary, they're rainbows.
They are. They go across the spectrum.
And sometimes I have emotion come through me and it just passes. And it's like, I don't really know what that was. And I just allow it to leave. And like, I'm okay with it. And it's taken me a minute. One of my mentors, Pamela Madsen, is really good about that. She's like, she'll be in the middle of talking about something and she'll just sort of tear up and she'll like,
allow it.
And she's just like, give me a minute. Okay, I don't know what that was, but I have emotion coming up and just had to experience it, and now it's gone. Right.
We're very similar, Court, this way. I lose my shit all the time in my coaching calls or on podcasts, just beware. So to me, it's so much harder to contain it. And it's so much easier to honor it. And I really do see the spectrum of how can I know forgiveness if I haven't known betrayal? How can I know bliss if I haven't known pain? And I see like a heart. Now I'll tell you a quick little story and then I have another question. When my mom was dead and I looked at her for the first time dead, and this is the moment. And I was like, oh, open your heart. And it was like 1 potato, 2 potato. It was the most excruciating thing ever. 3 potato, 4. It was like 5 breaths. And all of a sudden it shifted into bliss because she was everywhere. Because I was open to the most excruciating pain I'd experienced. And then bliss. And then next weekend, my sister's wedding. I got drunk. We just pretended she was on vacation just to get through it. I got pregnant. 9 months later, here I am giving birth. And this little thing that's been kicking my ribs and he's looking at my eyes and it's like, bliss. And I did the same. I'm like, don't miss this moment. Open your heart. 1 potato, 2 potato. Then all of a sudden it was like bliss. And then all of a sudden it was like, fuck. how am I going to keep this kid alive? Like, she's not going to do that. So it's like, wow, if we can feel fully, we will feel the whole spectrum of life. And I personally am willing to feel the pain because the rapture and oneness is so exquisite. I'm willing.
Yeah. I think there are people that are not willing, or there's an imminent fear of what that might look for them, or
well, like, I'm not scared.
Yeah. Or if it's, it's just like they're not even quite sure of, and I would say it's like also a fear of what's available for them pleasure-wise, right? Mm-hmm. I talk to so many people about their eroticism, and they're like,
yeah,
I'm actually afraid that it's so big that if I open it completely, it's going to blow my whole life up.
Yeah. Tell me more about that. Because I have that.
Yeah. And the answer is it might.
Mm-hmm.
It might blow your whole life up. And recognizing that the life as you know it might be enhanced. You might lose some things in the process, but living from a place of connectedness to your aliveness, which is your erotic energy.
Yes.
I mean, I would much rather that than to be closed off to it and fear what my potential is.
Yeah.
But that's a process for people. It sometimes takes quite a while for them to realize it and be like, okay, I'm ready. And there is that question of like, I know it's there and I don't know even how to get there. I think one of the ways that my coaching is a little bit different than traditional somatic sex education or sexological bodywork is that, in traditional sex bud, the practitioner will sort of wait for you to give them direction. And I'm of the mindset of like, some people just really don't know
what to even ask for. Yeah.
Yeah. They could be laying there or sitting there for the whole session and just be like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
Right.
I don't know. And the question comes like, I don't know even what's available.
Right.
And so a lot of times I'll be like, from what I understand about your intentions, maybe we could try these 3 exercises. Do any of these resonate for you? Sort of like a little menu, not too much, because then it gets overwhelming. But like, what about choice A or choice B? Right. Any of those sound kind of interesting, or what I call yellow, which is like a little scary, but also something that you want. And then we kind of go with that one, and then we might come back to option A later. But being able to give people choices that can help them move forward. They go, I didn't know that this thing was possibility. I didn't know that this experience would offer me a window into some sort of kink or desire that I had that I didn't even know about.
Yeah.
And I knew it was there. And this was one of the pieces.
Yeah.
So I think it's important, like as practitioners, specifically with somatics, is to like be patient with people and do allow choice and voice, and do allow the client to lead, and also understand that some people in their progression of learning are just really young.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they need a little bit of like, here's the start to this meal.
Yeah.
Now let's finish creating the menu together.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I love that. I have a question in a second, but the first one is, what's it like for you to see someone who doesn't even know what's even possible, and then experience something that they knew on some level, but they couldn't put it all together. And then they're on the other side, and you see, I'm not going to put words in your mouth. What do you see? What do you sense? What is it like?
I've been leading groups a lot lately. I've done 2 larger workshops, so 20, and then just now 28 men, where they're like 3-day workshops. And it's so cool to see people come online.
Yeah.
Where they're kind of come in and they're a little confused, and they know they want to be there, but they're not really sure why they've come, and they're excited, but also really nervous. And at some point in the weekend, you see their whole body kind of go. It's it's like a light bulb got plugged in and every light in the house turned on.
Oh,
And
wow.
they're like, I get it. Right.
Yeah.
And it's so different for every person, like what that thing will be. But the somatic recognition of what I see is really similar, of that piece of, you know, worked with somebody, I worked with a bisexual man who's married and had an experience with him. And he's like, I just don't think I could do this for my partner, for my wife. And I said, let me tell you something that I know about you, which is you're a storyteller. You are a storyteller. I know this about you. And I did. I knew these pieces about him because I had spent so much time with him.
Yeah.
And I said, all I'm doing is telling a story. I'm telling an erotic story with different pieces along the way. And he lit up. It's like, I am a storyteller and I can do this.
Oh.
And so it's like, sometimes it's like putting, and that's why spending so much time with people is really valuable. Oftentimes the nugget or the through line comes when we're eating lunch together. Because it's like, we've had all these really opening experiences and we're processing them along the way. And then sort of the guard comes down and I hear a story about their childhood or their relationship that feels very just like casual and saying it to me. And I'm like, that is the piece. I'm like, why didn't you mention that before? It's not mentioned in my intake form. It was never mentioned in any of our calls. It wasn't mentioned here. This is a big piece. Like, why didn't you? Well, I didn't feel like it was that important. It's like, this is the linchpin, right? And so, you know, again, going back to my reason for being in immersion is it allows me to see people's patterns over a period of time, where I can say, are you aware that of the fact that every time this comes up, your body does this? Or are you aware of every time this comes up, you go into this specific narrative?
Right.
And they're like, no.
Yeah, exactly.
And,
you see
and then, you see the what?
You see their blind spot.
Yeah. And then it becomes an acknowledgement of gratitude for that pattern of, wow, this pattern has really served you so well in your life. It's probably why you're so successful, why you're able to have such beautiful relationships with people in this way.
Right.
And now we're kind of identifying that it might be hindering you. And so can you use this as a tool in a conscious way when it feels right and needed? And can you allow yourself to like notice when it's coming up and go, actually, this is going to hinder me from connecting, hinder me from being intimate, hinder me from having what I want. And so I'm going to consciously put it away.
Giving them choice.
Yeah, choice. But if you're not aware, you're running patterns. Right? You're not aware.
Yeah. Wow. I want to share something super vulnerable with you. I feel so safe and so grateful.
Thank you.
So you said, why don't I live in LA anymore? And I live in the middle of nowhere in Wyoming because of a very abusive relationship that ended in criminal assault. And the blessing of that, although it was a year of hiding and shame and how did I attract this and how is this happening? What I found is for the last year, I went through psychedelic somatic integration work, PSI, and I discovered I was in my body to my heart. Heart was wide open, very good at disassociating, so very connected to spirit, but my pelvis was numb. My vagina, labia, buttocks muscles, hips, everything numb. I didn't think so. I thought I had an intuition. I thought I had instincts. Nope. And what we discovered with the level 4 trauma was a hypervigilance. Where's the abuser to survive? Scan the room for the abuser. There he is. Attraction, survive over and over, romantically, but also professionally, all over my life. So I'm in my 50s. I finally discover this. And through the integration work, see the images, smell the smells, feel the penetration, surrender to the body, recapitulating the abuse as a kid. On the one hand, horrifying, but on the other hand, freeing, because, oh, I'm not crazy. That's why this pattern has been going on for decades. And so it's been about a year of doing these series, these PSI series. And in the beginning, once I found out, my libido just went gone, just gone. And then I started to awaken as this very precious, like, I've been a topless dancer. I've had threesomes. I've had my fun. Like, I'm very experienced, but I'm feeling like I've never had sex before, Court. Like, it's so pure. Like, I'm actually in my hips for the first time. I can feel in ways I've never, ever felt. And frankly, I'm scared to go have sex again. This pressure to put on whoever my next partner is, that I feel like I'm having sex for the first time at 53, but I have all these other desires. And some of them, Court, were based on being turned on by being abused because of the abuse. And I'm not interested in that anymore. So, but maybe I am, if it's done with heart openness. Like, I'm just kind of fucked up inside right now. So, but I always show up and I always do the work, and I always share vulnerably with my clients and with my community, because I want to be the embodiment of vulnerability, which is bravery and heart openness, and no shame around our bodies, our sexuality, our past, or what we choose to create. So, what is your truth about what I just shared? What's true for you?
I guess my question is, how would you like me to support you right now?
Thank you. I would like guidance on, is it too much pressure to give somebody I really date? I haven't met anybody, but is it too much pressure to say, go real slow? I'm really wobbly. Even though I might look like this intimacy expert, sexy lady, do her thing, whatever, like, she's kind of gone, and this deeper me is here. I never even thought about sexual surrogates. Like, it never even crossed my mind. But is it wiser to give myself sessions to get to a place where I'm not so scared? Yeah.
And that would be like a personal question for you to answer. I think that's why people like myself exist. I am going to work with someone in the next month who has been celibate for 18 years and is basically like, I'm scared to death.
Yeah.
And I also don't want to die without having, satiating sex and connection to my body and potential for a partner, right? I wonder if there's potentially a reframe around it, which might look like, what a gift that you get to rewrite your story, and that you're not broken, right? Is that this is an opportunity to lean into the body that you have now.
Yeah.
Noticing that the body itself is an evolutionary creature, an evolutionary organism, and that our eroticism is evolutionary.
Yes.
And could you pose that to your partner of like, this is a really exciting and nerve-wracking time for me. I'm nearsighted. I use that word a lot. I'm nervous and excited. I'm nervous because this feels like new territory, and I'm excited because it feels like new territory. Yeah. And I feel like I trust you enough. I feel like I trust you enough to share my body with you. And will you go slow?
Well, that brings tears. So that's touching me deeply, Court. Thank you.
Yeah. And I think, there's a lot of shitty men in the world. And there's a lot of men that just want to get it right. There's a lot of men that just want to get it right and do good. And they're coachable.
Yeah.
They're coachable. And I think we also have to remember, that men have desires too. And so as you ask him to be slow, you might say, what do you need from me?
Right.
What have you never received that I might be able to offer to you?
Yeah.
And like, as you permission yourself to be vulnerable and ask for things that you need in that moment, just saying to him, like, I'm kind of in it here with you too.
Yeah.
What do you want to explore? What do you need from me? I also think, just to speak about maybe some of the desire that might feel like harder, right? Harder sex than soft sex, and feeling like, this feels like old me, but I still have this desire for potentially having it. There's a difference between having it with a person where you know that your boundaries will be respected.
Right.
And having it with a person who has no respect for your safe words, for your stop, for the discussions you've had around what's available and what's not. Those are two different things. And so, could you allow yourself to still have those?
Yeah.
With the right person?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. That was so healing for me.
My pleasure.
The reframe is exquisite. Yeah. So I feel like I could talk to you for days. I'll honor your time, and thank you so much for being here. But I want to first do logistics, and then let's finish with deep connection again. How can people, we've spoken about thebodyvox.com. And in your intro, we talked about squirm. So and then we talked about the woman's course, back to the body, the retreat. So tell us a bit about what's happening soon, what people can explore, and how to do that.
So honestly, my offerings for queer and gay men are sold out for the year, for 2023. I have a retreat and a workshop that are closed. For the retreat sold out, and the workshop is only open to people that have worked with me previously. So for group work, looking at next January as an option, and I will announce that in probably the end of August, early September. I'll announce my whole schedule for 2024. To work with me privately, I do three-day immersions, and that's, I have ongoing availabilities. I have a few left for this year. The women's work, which is Back to the Body, it's backtothebody.org. And we do, next year, we're doing so many retreats and different programs. So I can't say enough about that program for women. I also am going to be launching an online community with some online course material. I felt, for a couple reasons, for the people who are not in California or in different parts of the world that feel like they want to, or they don't feel ready to do in-person work, to offer something that's more of a beginner, like thought starters to get going, and also to offer a community where people can connect with each other, other like-minded people, with sort of activation intentions given every week, and live Q&As once a month. So I'm going to be launching that with a company called Guideness at the end of this month. And I'm really excited about that. It's been about a year that I've been working on that. So wish me luck with that. And I'll say more about it when it launches. And then Squirm is a sensation toy company that I launched with Pamela Madsen. And it's the idea behind it is play, how to incorporate sensation and play into your sex life, and taking some of the focus off your genitals, and what does it feel to be kind of tickled and scratched, and how do you use toys like that to bring sensation to the whole body. So that's what Squirm is.
Oh, I love it. This is great.
I think I hit everything. I do have another retreat that's open that'll be in Mexico next year. It's 5 days, 6 nights in Mexico for LGBTQ men in February. That's open for enrollment. It's a small group of 8 men. And that's probably the closest thing to working with me privately, is that you do get one-on-one sessions with a sexological bodyworker practitioner, as well as the group work, and amazing food and a beautiful scenario setting. So
I love it. My last retreat was in Mexico, right on the water in Cabo. So I get it.
Oh, yeah. Nice. I love Mexico.
Yeah, so do I. Beautiful. Well, I love your high level problems of being sold out.
Me too.
I know, right?
Took me a minute, but yeah, things don't stay on the shelf very long. So
congratulations on that. So beautiful.
Thank you.
So good. Anything I can ever do to support your promotion, you just let me know.
I appreciate that.
That's my honor. So I would like to complete with these people who have not had a sexual experience before in a relationship format, and perhaps they've just had escorts, and they don't really even have the intimacy skills for a relationship. I support people in the relationship with their body, releasing of the shame, communication skills, bravery, unapologeticness, but I don't have any advice for them when they haven't had that intimate moment, heart connection and presence. It's been very transactional, and that's the end of it. What would you say to any of these listeners or viewers of the beauty of researching a surrogate relationship to shift out of that? And there's a lot of shame around that, disappointment and shame around that, into this surrogate relationship as a way to literally change the trajectory of how they now engage to find partnerships.
So I'm just going to name that surrogacy is for a really specific client. It's not for everyone. You know, if you've had sex or you're already having sex and you're just not satisfied with it, I don't know that surrogacy is the right container for you. And you might say, you know, I really want the support of a therapist. I also work, when I'm doing coaching work, I offer, if people want me to speak to their therapist ongoing about what we're doing and kind of explain it in more detail and kind of what our breakthroughs were, I'm more than happy to do that as a part of the therapeutic process for them. And surrogacy is just something a little bit deeper, where it's like the consistency of both people is much higher. So I think it's a matter of like doing your research in terms of like what modalities are available and feeling into like what feels right for you. And they're all scary. I think, you know, coming to a place of attunement in yourself, which is challenging for a lot of people, of noticing where fear and excitement live in your body. And noticing, oh, and this is common for a lot of people, I'll just name it for myself, that fear for me happens in my gut, in my belly. And when I feel scared, I feel gurglies. On the same token, when I feel excited, I feel butterflies in my stomach. And the feeling feels somatically pretty similar. And so the attunement piece for me is, that's interesting. I'm feeling my belly. Feeling something in my belly. And then what is that? Like being curious about what the feeling is. And the questions might look like something of, am I safe enough here?
Yeah.
Okay, I actually do feel safe enough here. Great. Then I'm going to move into this experience or lean into this person. And if there is that feeling of this does not feel safe here, or safe enough, you know, maybe taking a step back and even saying to someone, I'm not quite ready yet. And noticing what that person's response is. It can be telling, you know, if their response is, cool, like, take your time. I'm here when you're ready. That like helps your nervous system drop into a place of like, okay, I can show up however I need to show up, and this person is not going to run for the door. But if that person is like, you know what, never mind, whatever, you know, I'm not the right person for you, or this isn't the right experience for you, let's just call it quits. You might go, yeah, my internal knowing was correct. Yeah. And that takes time also to be able to attune to what your body's saying. And also, attuning to your internal knowing doesn't always mean that you make the choice, right? So you might go, this doesn't feel safe enough, and I'm still entering in here.
And I'm still going to deny my truth. Yeah.
I'm still going to deny my truth, but I'm making it from a place of choice. And then you deal with the consequences.
Correct. Correct.
But to say, I didn't know, it's like, that's not true.
Correct. Oh, that's so bold. Yeah. I love that. Yeah. Ownership. Real accountability to our knowing, our attunement. I like that word. I use discernment for that word. Beautiful. One last question. Your lover. How, to the degree you're willing to share, and if it's off limits, it's okay. But I'd be like, I don't want my lover having sex with other lovers. How has that?
To be clear, I don't have sex with my clients.
Okay.
There is erotic touch and erotic play. When I'm working as a somatic sex educator, the ethics and guidelines for that community is wearing gloves and keeping my clothes on. When I'm working as a sacred intimate, it is more of a mutuality, and I might include more of my body in that way. And it really is defining with that client which path we're going from the beginning. We do not shift once they've chosen, unless they want to downshift. We never upshift. And sometimes my answer is no. If they're wanting something that's more mutuality, and I've heard and read their intake form and they're not quite ready for that step. It's like, I get that you want this, and it's probably not the best approach for the intentions that you've placed in front of me. And that takes, from a practitioner's point of view, again, attunement.
Yeah.
And to notice, like, is this in the highest good of the client? Or are my desires getting mixed in here? And if it's not for the highest good of the learning of the client, then it should not be.
Yes, yes.
And so there's a constant checking in on that with myself and also my peers. I have peer reviews that I hold myself to. It's not like it's required. But I often seek guidance from my peers and my counselors and mentors of, this feels a little off and I don't know why, and I need your assistance.
Wow.
I think that's really valuable to me in this work.
Yeah.
But to answer your question about my partner, we've gone through a whole cycle, which was really challenging in the beginning. My partner is Latino. He is born in Honduras and comes from a very religious, conservative background, even though he is gay. And so the idea of this type of work is so foreign.
Sure. So
foreign to many people, let alone like him. He was like, what the fuck is this, right? But I think I know we have come to a place where he feels a lot of pride in knowing he's a special needs teacher. So he works with children in the classroom who have learning disabilities. And I think the real breakthrough was when I was sharing with him sort of like a client breakthrough, which, it's hard to share these things with people because of confidentiality. And so it's limiting with what I can share. But just sharing sort of some of the high level breakthroughs with him, and him going, that's really special. And him saying, you sort of do the same thing I do.
I was going to say, yeah.
Which, it's a teacher role. Yeah. It's like holding space for people that need it. And so when he said that, I was like, okay, we're getting somewhere. And so to answer, it's been a trajectory, and we're in a good place with it now. I feel like he's proud of the work that I do, and it took him a minute. Yeah.
And just like the space you hold for your clients, you could just give him the patience and the space as well. And I see how your skill set it just goes in so many areas. It's beautiful. And I thank you for sharing all that you have, holding space for me as well. I really acknowledge the integrity with which you hold your heart and your boundaries and your work, and the heart that you put into it, and that you're well-rounded, sold out, have your relationship, thriving business. Like,
I'm trying.
Yeah, and Mom, I think you're saying like it's just been a delight to get to know you.
Yeah, you too.
Thank you so much. So you viewers and listeners, I'm sure there were many maybe mic drop moments, maybe moments that triggered something in your body, brought tears, brought turn on, something awoke in this conversation, I'm sure. So before you end this podcast or end the podcast, but then I want you to go for a walk, sit, meditate, get out your journal, something there, take an action based on what has been awakened within your body, within your spirit, within your soul, so that this conversation literally changed the trajectory of your life. And know that Court has your back. I have your back. Please contact him at thebodyvox.com.
I second those suggestions.
Good. Yes, we want these conversations to ripple through your life for the rest of your life. And so, as always here on Intimate Conversations, thank you so much for the honor of being able to love the shit out of you.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah. See you next week on Intimate Conversations. Get out there and make love to life. It's kind of a gloomy day. Lots of rain, lots of fog, and lots of encouragement to go within, listen, feel. And since my interview with Court, I really was nervous to tell him the truth of how I feel about being sexual again after the assault and all of the awarenesses I've had of why I've been disassociated and why I haven't been grounded in my hips, and just getting his perspective and reframe of how to see it as a gift, not as a problem. You know how sometimes the fear of something is more scary than the actual experience itself? Like we build it up to be this thing that it really need not be. Just talking to him about it, just being brave enough to mention it and to feel the feelings in the moment with him has really dissipated a lot of it. And to be that space for my partner to also say to me what he might never have been courageous enough to say, and to the gift of being able to be not old, but like older people. I'm in my 50s, but to be able to still be innocent and fresh and new to experiences, embodiment, pleasure, surrender, ecstasy, expression that we've never experienced before. Like, what a treasure, what a gift. He was so right. So I feel like the balloon of fear has been popped, and I feel more rested in my body, and not like it's no big thing, but kind of like it's no big thing. And I'll just be me, and he'll just be him, and it'll be delicious. So there's an invitation for all of us to learn from Court. Oh, please definitely go to his site. Please definitely look into his retreats, those women's retreats. He's sold out for all of his LGBTQ plus retreats. High level problem, successful man. I love that. But also his products, the Squirm products, all the things that he has to offer. It's just amazing to me when somebody fully steps into their truth, how abundance flows and how you find your people. So definitely follow up with all of that. And I just feel such gratitude for his courage to be exactly who he is in this world when there's judgment pretty much on every corner. And lastly, I encourage all of us, what if we all touched our own bodies, connected with our own pleasures, and communicated with our partners in a way where we gave ourselves permission to be that innocent first time, even if it's the 400th time, and allow this moment to be new, and allow our hearts to be splayed wide open, and allow our truth to emerge. You know, what would be possible for you to make? All right, thank you so much for being with us here on Intimate Conversations. And this episode particularly could speak to those of you who could be an ideal VIP client wanting to work with someone like myself who has such spot-on intuition, such non-judgment, such ability to follow energy, such an ability to make an impeccably safe space to go into depths and darkness that you may never have had the courage to go to before. So if my vulnerability and my capacity and credibility feels in alignment, my request is you go to my site, allanapratt.com, and register for an intimacy breakthrough experience with me now, so we can explore if this is the time and I'm the fit and we are the partnership to walk together home to your greatest glory, your unapologetic expression, and home, all the way down to your hips in your magnificent body and heart. All right, all my love to you.